Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and yet again, I am joined with Flex Shane. All of his links are down below in the description. We have already done 3 wide receiver videos. This is the 4th, and we've done 4 running backs, so please make sure to check those out on my YouTube channel. You can watch them after this because you're just going to have a great time here. So the first, or the guy we're going to be talking about in this video is Justin Jefferson, wide receiver out of LSU. Now, I'm going to read off his junior year stats. His age 21, 15 total games because they made the playoffs. They won the national championship. 111 receptions on 122 targets. 1,540 receiving yards, 21.5% target share of the offense, 91% target rate, and 18 touchdowns. He scored more touchdowns that year than his first 2 years combined, even though he didn't really play his first year. But those numbers are amazing. It's crazy. 111 receptions on 122 targets, 91% catch rate. This guy has glue on his hands.
He does. And, that's probably one of the things you look at. I mean, he had a guy named Burrow who was throwing him the ball, and that obviously made a pretty big difference. But it's kind of like a Michael Thomas, right? It's, yes, obviously having a guy like Drew Brees throwing the ball makes a big difference. But at the end of the day, this guy's got to come down with the ball. And to come down with it 91% of the time is pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those are just amazing stats. Now, his best skill, is it his hands, or what is it to you?
I'd probably say his hands. I mean, well, look, so we were chatting about this before we started recording here, and the fact that he was pretty much, I think, a red shirt in his well, I want to say rookie season, but freshman year. Yeah. So yeah, I live in Canada, so we don't call it freshman and sophomore. So it always takes me half a second to calculate that. But yeah, so in his freshman year, he was basically a red shirt, and he was a 2-star prospect when he was recruited. And the fact that he could go up and in his 3rd season, put up those ungodly numbers, albeit LSU is probably like the best historic college football team in history. If not, they're at least in like the top conversation. Yeah. It still makes a difference, right? And then you compare it to the fact that he was playing with a prospect named Jamar Chase. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. He is probably going to be the top-ranked wide receiver prospect coming into the NFL next year.
Yeah,
it makes a big-ass difference that he still had 21% of the target share. But, I mean, you also have to take things into context, right? Just the fact that he wasn't such an electric team. I mean, how does a guy like Justin Jefferson, who has these gaudy stats, stack up to a guy like Jalen Reagor? How do you kind of choose, okay, he was on a great team. How would a player like Jalen Reagor be on that team? What if Justin Jefferson played on TCU? Would he have these godly stats? Probably not. But the fact that he's done it, he was in the opportunity and he took advantage of his opportunity. That, to me, makes a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. He is 6'1", and he weighs 202 pounds from the combine. He ran a 4.43 on the 40-yard dash, which is pretty good, 86th percentile. So something we talk about in all these videos is the guy's breakout age. He broke out at 19.6. Typically, would you say, how old did you have to be? He was 20 before 20 is.
No, if you're age 19 when you break out, like that's good. If you're a phenom, if you're phenomenal, it's in the 18 range. Mm-hmm. But I would say 19 is probably good. When you're getting in your 20s, 21s, that's a later breakout age, and that's when it's a little bit. Your spidey sense can go off. Say, okay, was this a blip on the radar, or was it actually something that's going to be repeatable? And that's what it comes down to. Is, I mean, football in general is such a small sample size that it's sometimes hard to say, is this real? Is this going to be consistent? But the younger that you've got a breakout age, and then you continue to be productive throughout your career, a college career, it typically will lead to an indication that you're going to be good in the NFL.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, right now, Justin Jefferson is 21.2 years old. Now, something I bring up in all these videos as well is where we believe a guy like Justin Jefferson will land. Now, I'm going to talk about some of the mocks I've looked at, some of the mocks I've done. I've seen him go to Philly and the Saints primarily, or the Packers, I guess, if he falls there. So where do you like Mr. Justin Jefferson to fall?
Well, I have not heard him go to the Saints. Even with like a guy like Emmanuel Sanders, I guess Sanders is more of like kind of a
my bad.
Sort of
I was seeing that. I was talking about before Emmanuel Sanders. I'm a dummy. My bad.
Well, you know what? Listen, we've talked about it before that a lot of the times these wide receivers aren't necessarily going to have the immediate production in year one, right? Emmanuel Sanders is 33 years old. Like he's not exactly going to be there for a long time. And the thing about like getting drafted by a team like the Saints is the fact that Breeze has announced that this is indeed going to be his final season. So you don't know what's going to happen there next year. You just don't really know. So would the Saints be the best landing spot? Maybe for this season, but long term, hard to say. I can see him going to a team like San Francisco because he does play a different role than like a Deebo Samuel. But selfishly, as a guy with a lot of Deebo Samuel shares in my dynasty leagues, I think that's going to be negative for a guy like Deebo. But to me, an offense like San Francisco, it's kind of like the boat or like a tide. What is it? A high tide rises all boats or something like that. What's the expression? I'm butchering it. I always do that. Okay. I'm absolutely butchering it. But look, it'll be good for everybody. So Justin Jefferson's, I think, the kind of player that he shows. I mean, he's a big body receiver. One of the things I noticed when watching some of his game tape is he's really got that ability to box out the defenders. And he's the kind of guy who can go and basically run 1 yard into the end zone, cut back, and just on the end zone line, like catch the ball for the touchdown. And that makes a difference. I mean, he can play all different types of roles. He's got sticky hands. We talked about trust with a quarterback, 91% catch rate. That's pretty impressive. That will make any quarterback trust you. So he could probably land, again, it's one of these, he's one of these top prospects that he's going to land in any position. And he's probably going to be productive. You want him going somewhere with a coach that can know how to use a player like this, but he's pretty prototypical, right? In terms of his overall stats, just the fact that he is 6'1", over 200 pounds, he could probably play in any prototypical role. He played in the slot a lot, and he was the most productive in the slot at LSU. And I could see him being a very productive slot receiver, which 5 years ago wasn't a big deal, but in the modern day NFL, you want guys that can move the chains, and that's what a good slot receiver can do.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love if he went to the Eagles, but Deshaun Jackson is there, obviously, but that guy will probably just end up getting hurt. If he went to the Eagles, I think Carson Wentz could just feed him.
Look, the Eagles are a fun team. They're fast, and they need receivers. Like Alshon Jeffrey, I think, is still injured. It's not a lock that he's even going to play at the start of the season. JJ Arcega-Whiteside last year did absolutely squat. He was a pretty high thought out prospect last year when he was drafted, but as the season kind of went on, I think a lot of people soured on him. And look, it's his rookie season, so the book's not shut on him. But I guarantee you, if a guy like Justin Jefferson goes to the team, he will become the wide receiver 1 on that team, probably, if not by the end of the first season, into his second season.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that Wentz and Aguilar are not Nelson Aguilar. What's the other guy's name?
Aguilar's gone.
Alshon Jeffrey, right? Yeah. They hate each other, allegedly.
Oh, really?
I read that they don't like each other and that Jeffrey wants out of there. I don't know why I said Aguilar. He's a bum as well. But
Aguilar was there. Aguilar's gone now, finally.
Yeah, thank you.
I can see that. I mean, the thing about Alshon Jeffrey is he is an older wide receiver. He's been hurt his entire freaking career. He maybe has a year or two left on his contract, and they're never going to just straight out cut him. But I think the Eagles pretty much came out and said, like, we are open to trading this guy away. The question is, I mean, who would really want him? I mean, it'd probably be a team that's contending, right? Because you're not going to trade for this guy for the long term. We think we can win this season, and therefore we'll trade for a guy like Alshon Jeffrey. But
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So when talking about this wide receiver hit rate chart, I've done it in every single video. We've talked about it. Now, this guy is likely going to be a first-round pick. Do you agree? Or
I think so.
Okay, so first-round pick. So likely the top 12 finish is not looking too hot, but a top 24 finish in fantasy football, there's a 36% chance to finish in the top 36, which is wide receiver 3, 55% chance, and finish as a wide receiver 4 is a 55% chance. So those are pretty solid numbers for a guy for his rookie year. Now, if we look into his sophomore year or his second year in the NFL, however you want to say it, he does have the potential to finish as a top 12 guy, 13% chance, top 24 is a 38% chance, top 36 is a 47% chance, and top 48 is a 47% chance. But I'm going to bring it up again. I know if you've watched all these videos, you're tired of hearing about the fucking coronavirus because I've said it every time, but this is going to impact these wide receivers. I'm not sure it impacts the running backs. I really don't think it will, to be honest with you, because you can just hand the guy the ball and he can figure it out. But you got to figure out how to run these routes. I brought this up. Dante Pettis had no idea what he was doing. He had no idea, like Jimmy Garoppolo would say something. He had no idea what that meant, and he just fucking run. He had no clue what was going on. And that could happen to some of these guys if they're not fast learners, because all these things that are very helpful, rookie minicamp, OTAs, training camp, all these things may not even happen. The season may get delayed. I mean, I don't think it will, but it could. So when you're thinking about all these factors, it really makes the wide receiver hit rate that seemed humongous last year. It seemed like every wide receiver hit. This year, it's going to be much lower. A lot of these guys that you think, a guy like Judy, you might think, holy shit, he might have the potential to finish top 15. He might just be not so hot if he lands in the wrong place. So that is something I just wanted to emphasize. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, absolutely. You've kind of nailed it here. I mean, we've talked about it at length, but the chance that these wide receivers are going to make an immediate impact on your fantasy team in year one is generally pretty low. I mean, they may have certain weeks where they pop off, but the problem is you're never going to know when the heck to start them, right? So you're going to constantly be playing that. If they pop off on your bench and you start them the next week, well, they might put up like 4 points, and that'll be a disappointment. So I think consistency is going to be tough for any of these wide receivers. We talked about, the other top 3 prospects. I think Justin Jefferson is kind of in that conversation where he, especially around the end of the year, I think that he's the kind of player that can develop that trust with the quarterback. And in the right situation, I think he could be fantasy relevant as like a wide receiver 3, at least by mid to end of the season, which, look, not every wide receiver is going to be a wide receiver 1, right? Not every wide receiver is going to be a wide receiver 2, but I could absolutely see his career arc going almost like a Cooper Kupp, where, he has moments in his rookie season where he shows that he could be the quarterback's best friend, especially, playing in that slot role. And then he slowly becomes just one of these reception monsters. And just being the fact that most of us play in these PPR leagues, I could conceivably see that by year 2 or 3, like Justin Jefferson's in the conversation for 80 to 90 receptions per year, and probably, like, he's shown you that he can score touchdowns, right? So he's got a nose for the end zone, and he could easily be a high-end wide receiver 2 to a low-end wide receiver 1 within a year or 2. So I would be pretty comfortable with drafting this guy probably right around the end of the first round in your rookie drafts. If he ends up on a team like the Eagles, though, that doesn't have a lot of wide receiver help and they really badly need quality wide receivers, maybe he would move up on my board a little bit. Maybe he can have impact a little bit earlier because necessity, right? The team needs wide receivers. And hell, if he lands on a team like that where they absolutely need him to start day 1, well, that can make a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. He could definitely break the mold there of, in my opinion, a lot of these guys that are going to miss earlier in the year. I think that if he lands there, he's so much better than a guy like Greg Ward. Greg Ward was in like the AAF a year ago, and now he's starting. He was a fantasy option towards the end of the season. That's how crazy things were last season. So all of these guys will probably have 2 or 3 weeks where they're wide receiver 1s or 2s. But the rest of the time, I think unless Jefferson lands in the spot, you'll be a bit disappointed in them. So I've said this in every video. Make sure to me, I'm just drafting, and if you're in a startup, I'm just drafting a guy like Tyler Boyd 2 rounds later, 3 rounds later, a guy like Michael Gallup, a guy like Christian Kirk, who we compared another guy to. Christian Kirk is going to still do work this year, even though everyone wants to, talk about how great DeAndre Hopkins is going to make the offense. That makes Christian Kirk even better because now he's not the alpha guy on the team. So,
yeah, I mean, we just talked about with Justin Jefferson. A guy like Kirk is like, okay, not every wide receiver is going to be a wide receiver 1. Christian Kirk was a favorite of a lot of dynasty players for a long time, and clearly, just the fact that they went out there and got a guy like Hopkins tells me that they don't maybe see him as a wide receiver 1, at least not yet. Although you could argue that no matter what, if you have an opportunity to get a guy like Hopkins for pretty much a bag of wooden nickels, you're going to go for it to make your NFL team better. But look, a guy like Justin Jefferson, a guy like Christian Kirk, these are guys who they're going to be starters. Most of us play in 3 wide receiver leagues. You need a wide receiver 2. You need a wide receiver 3. These are the guys you can get maybe a little bit later in your draft. You draft running back early, and a guy like Justin Jefferson falls to like round 8 or 9. Maybe not this year, but I'm talking about in the future. I would be cool with having him as like my wide receiver 2 or 3, especially if you've got depth in other positions. So you need players like this in your team. And look, Justin Jefferson could be great. He really could be.
Yeah, and like I said before, once they hit that year 2, their hit rate goes significantly more up, and then it keeps going up as the years go on. So let's hope that he lands in a good spot. Maybe somehow he will go to Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers actually has another target on his team. That's potential. But I don't even think he'll fall that far in the draft, probably. But that's all just dreams for me. So you got anything else on Mr. Jefferson, or are we done here?
No. Exciting prospect. Looking forward to the NFL draft.
Yeah, for sure. Let's hope that it's entertaining to watch on TV where they're not even like in person. So thank
Yeah.
you guys all for watching this video. If you ended up enjoying, please click that subscribe button. Click on one of the videos that's on the screen. One of them should be a wide receiver breakdown that we've done previously. Make sure to check out all of Shane's links down below in the description. Make sure to check out his podcast, the Flex Network, also his Twitter, and all that jazz. So thank you guys all for watching. I love each and every single one of you guys. Make sure to have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow with some other type of video. Goodbye.